The background footage for this video will be the twins' fight that led to her MMHC death. If there's time, there will also be some 720p footage for comparison. This video is on what, in my opinion, is Terraria's single greatest flaw. And that flaw is what I'd like to call the screen resolution gap. Unbeknownst to many players, Terraria's gameplay and hence difficulty depends massively on the screen resolution that you are playing it at. This is because for some reason, the size of each block in pixels when fully zoomed out does not scale based on your resolution. Well, it does, if you have a greater than 1080p display, but every display size less than 1080p is at a massive disadvantage to 1080p. Because the optimal strategy for fighting Terraria bosses is almost always to fight them at a distance. Oftentimes you will be fighting bosses off-screen, even if you have a 1080p display. If your display is less than 1080p, you will have a difficult time seeing bosses. And the game will just be much more difficult in general. An interesting phenomena that has happened is that people's screen resolutions getting better over time as 1080p has become the standard on mid to high level laptops, has contributed to the power creep that makes today's game seem much more difficult than it was. When Terraria first came out, its resolution was locked to 800 by 600, and it's clear that the early bosses were balanced around this resolution. Classic Skeletron is a joke when you have a 1080p display, but on a 800 by 600 display, he poses some challenge. 1366 by 768, or 720p displays were quite common, and still are, on laptops, and a lot of the 1.1 to 1.2 era stuff was balanced around that screen resolution, but is now a joke on higher resolution displays. Did you struggle with the twins in 1.2.4? Maybe it's because you were using a 720p display. There is a lot of other power creep as well, but that's a topic for another video. Conversely, a lot of the 1.3 or expert mode content is balanced around 1080p, and is much more difficult on 720p. Moon Lord on 720p takes up a large portion of the screen, as does the Empress of Light, and being in range of seeing the wall of flesh on master mode in 720p is just asking for trouble. This is all just bosses. Obviously seeing less of the environment is worse for general exploration too, and although I haven't tested it, weapons that attack where the cursor is and not further could be severely limited by 720p. Why haven't the Terraria devs fixed this flaw? Because they're lazy, that's why. The 1080p versus 720p disadvantage is huge, and in my opinion, game-breaking. 720p is just that much harder. Luckily 1080p has become the standard on medium to premium laptops unlike a few years ago, but low-end laptops will still have 720p, and still suffer from having to play Terraria on 720p. True master mode, if you will.